You lie back, letting your shoulders sink into the softness beneath you. The air brushes your skin like a slow, drifting breeze. Each inhale is warm, gentle, a soft hum that seems to come from inside, though it could also be the distant whisper of the world outside your window. You feel the pulse of life beneath your skin, subtle, persistent, patient. The pulse is a gardener's hand, a tender touch, stirring roots and soil that no eye can see. You follow it, slowly, letting your awareness wander like a leaf floating on a calm stream. As you breathe, the garden within you begins to wake. Tiny gardeners stretch and stir in unseen corners, nudging soil, turning hidden leaves, arranging small clusters of life that shimmer like dew in the morning light. Each movement is deliberate, but effortless, a ballet performed in soft shadows and warm quiet. You notice the rhythm, like gentle waves lapping a shore that stretches infinitely in all directions. Inhale. Exhale. The waves repeat. They whisper reassurance that everything is unfolding as it should. The soil of your body is soft beneath their hands, rich and forgiving. Imagine it dark, fertile, fragrant with the scent of rain-soaked earth, though no rain has fallen here, only life and warmth. Tiny tendrils reach into the soil, exploring, sensing, making small adjustments that keep everything in gentle harmony. You might smile to yourself, softly, thinking that even the smallest gardener seems to have a personality, a tiny overseer fussing over the details of its leafy realm. It is the kind of humor that tickles just behind your awareness, a quiet, knowing smile. Every cell, every fold of your inner terrain, feels the touch of this awakening. You trace the breath through your body, up through your chest, down into your abdomen, and out to the tips of your fingers and toes. The breath is a warm current carrying life, like a gentle river winding its way through the garden. You imagine it flowing through soft, green valleys, past petals and stems, past roots that curl around hidden stones. With each inhale, you bring in light. With each exhale, you release a gentle sigh that encourages the gardeners to stretch just a little more. The gardeners are ancient and new at once. Some have been here since the very beginning of your life, quietly arranging the soil, quietly shaping the patterns of growth. Others arrive with the scent of meals, with the warmth of your touch, with the quiet hum of the air you breathe. They come in waves, small but purposeful, like travelers entering a city that already knows them, that already holds space for them without question. You feel their presence, a subtle pressure, a faint vibration beneath your skin, the way a soft wind makes the branches of trees tremble ever so slightly. You inhale slowly, letting the sensation fill you. There is no rush here. There is no urgency. There is only the quiet labor of tending, the rhythm of life unfolding in slow, graceful arcs. You imagine a sun rising very softly above this garden, its light filtered, not blinding, warming petals and leaves, warming the tiny streams of water that ripple through the soil. Even the shadows feel safe, long and curling, as if the night itself leans gently into the day. As the gardeners awaken, they begin their subtle work of communication. Tiny chemical messages drift like whispers along invisible pathways. You imagine the conversations soft, polite, humorous in their own way, perhaps a little like roommates debating where the best soil should be placed or which leaf should grow next. You inhale, hearing the gentle cadence of this dialogue, exhale, feeling the reassurance that everything is accounted for. You are part of the conversation, a quiet observer, a participant in the most intimate of dances. The roots in your inner garden twist and turn like soft ribbons of silk, anchoring the soil and drinking in warmth. You can feel them in your imagination, curling around unseen stones and hidden hollows, holding fast yet yielding to the gentle touch of life. Some roots tap into quiet streams, carrying nutrients that you cannot see but can sense as warmth, as a low hum, as the satisfaction of a task done well. You might think of this as the first smile of the day, a tiny acknowledgement that all is well, that growth is happening without anyone needing to hurry it along. Petals unfurl inside you, small and delicate, and with each breath, you feel them stretch just a little more. Perhaps they have colors, soft and subtle, like the pastel glow of morning. Perhaps they make sounds too, a barely perceptible shimmer, the quiet laughter of life pleased with itself. You smile again, the smile slow and soft, aware that the humor here is the humor of perfection noticing itself, of life noticing life, of a garden fully awake and delighted to exist. And beneath all of this, you feel a pulse that is steady, slow, deliberate. It is the pulse of your own awareness, matching the pulse of the gardener's. You trace it with your fingertips in your imagination, soft as velvet, reassuring as a gentle hand on your shoulder. You inhale and become aware of how vast this garden is, how patient it is, how certain in its quiet wisdom. Exhale, and let yourself drift deeper into the warmth, the hum, the rhythm of life. You notice the first hints of hidden streams, moving beneath the soil. Water glides around roots, past tiny creatures that tend and prune with care. The movement is soft, musical, a low, flowing note that vibrates just beneath your awareness. Inhale, follow it. Exhale, let it carry you. You can almost hear a laugh in the rippling water, a reminder that even work can be gentle, even duty can be tender. The gardeners nod to each other, quiet acknowledgement passing like a wave through the soil. And as the garden fully awakens, you feel yourself settle into it, a gentle companion to this quiet, thriving world. You sense the promise of seeds yet to arrive, the flow of currents that will carry them, the unseen work that will unfold in the next hours, the next breaths, the next dreams. You are safe, cradled in the warmth, the hum, the pulse. You are part of the soft choreography of life, in a garden that has always been awake, and yet always has new things to show you. And now, as you inhale one more time, slow and deep, you feel a tiny drift, a hint of movement, a whisper of seeds arriving, a hint of travelers entering the soil of your body. Exhale. You float gently on the current, ready to meet them, ready to feel them settle in, ready to follow the garden into its next quiet, unfolding chapter. The gardeners nod, a soft, unseen wave. The light shifts, softens, bends. You drift toward it, toward the tender promise of beginnings, toward the next gentle awakening, where the seeds of being settle quietly into fertile soil, ready to grow. You close your eyes and drift back into the warmth of the garden that has awakened within you. You remember the pulse of unseen hands turning soil, the soft laughter of tiny gardeners stretching their limbs, arranging the hidden leaves. And now, you sense a new movement, softer, smaller, quieter than anything before. You inhale slowly, letting the warmth fill your chest, letting your shoulders relax. The breath carries with it a subtle invitation, a whisper, a hum, drawing your awareness down into the soil where seeds begin their journey. Seeds arrive in a hush. They are carried on warm air, in the touch of fingers, in the taste of the first meals, in the gentle embrace of your earliest environment. Tiny travelers, unseen yet full of promise, arrive as though the garden itself is expecting them. You picture them drifting down, landing softly in the fertile soil of your body. The soil welcomes them, opens just enough, and the seeds settle, curling like small questions that are quietly answered by roots and warmth. With each inhale, you imagine the seeds sinking deeper, finding their own soft spaces, just enough room to unfurl in time. You trace your breath along their journey, slow and steady, a gentle wave rolling across a quiet shore. Exhale. Feel the warmth of the soil cradling each seed. They are safe here, nurtured by unseen gardeners, by currents that carry nutrients and by the quiet pulse of your inner life. Even a tiny seed, you realize, carries patience in its very being. Some seeds are bold, stretching immediately, curious about the light that filters down through invisible canopies. Others take their time, folding inward, resting, listening to the hum of the garden, learning the rhythm of the soil. You might smile softly at the thought, even seeds have personalities. Some are cautious, some adventurous, some mischievous, like a little trickster exploring before anyone notices. The humor is gentle, barely a ripple across the still pond of your awareness. The currents of your inner streams carry whispers to the seeds. Nutrients drift along soft pathways, water glides through hidden tunnels, a low hum resonates through the roots and stems. The seeds sense it, respond to it, and begin the first quiet gestures of life. You inhale, imagining them stretching just a millimeter, feeling the gentle tug of soil and warmth. Exhale, and let the movement settle, a slow acknowledgement that life begins quietly, and that each small stir is exactly as it should be. As the seeds nestle into the soil, they begin subtle conversations with the gardeners already present. Tiny chemical notes drift like smoke, delicate as a cat's purr, weaving a dialogue that is invisible to the eye but deeply felt in the rhythm of life. The gardeners adjust, make space, not an unspoken understanding. You trace the breath down to your belly, feeling a soft satisfaction in the tiny accommodations, the gentle choreography that ensures harmony. Inhale. Exhale. The dance continues, delicate, patient, infinite. Each seed carries a promise. Some will grow quickly, sending shoots and tendrils up toward light. Some will linger, quiet, unassuming, waiting for the perfect moment. You imagine their colors, soft pastels, muted greens and yellows, hues that make no noise but radiate warmth when your awareness brushes over them. Each is part of a symphony that will unfold over days, months, years, and you feel your chest rise and fall with a gentle tempo. The garden is patient. You are patient. The seeds are patient. The soil beneath you breathes too, expanding and contracting in tandem with your own body. You notice a faint fragrance, earthy and sweet, like rain on old stone, like sun-warmed moss. It is the smell of care, of unseen labor, of life quietly tending life. You inhale deeply, letting it fill you, letting it ground you in the knowledge that nothing is rushed. Nothing is hurried. The seeds are safe. You are safe. The gardeners smile, in their quiet, ineffable way, at the precision of this unfolding. Some seeds carry tiny passengers themselves, microbes and molecules that will become part of a delicate ecosystem. You imagine them waving tiny hands, exchanging greetings, introducing themselves to neighbors. You might giggle softly, aware that these travelers are almost polite, almost formal, yet somehow endearing. Inhale. Exhale. The garden hums, a slow, undulating vibration that tickles the roots and petals and even the tiny seeds, reminding them that they belong, reminding you that you belong. The garden stretches, as though to accommodate these new arrivals. Roots shift gently, making room. Streams curve softly, carrying nourishment to the exact spot where a seed rests. Petals and leaves above shimmer faintly, reflecting warmth into hidden corners. You trace your breath from the crown of your head down through the soles of your feet, imagining the movement of energy and life in this secret world. Inhale. Exhale. You feel the pulse of the gardeners, their quiet delight at seeing the seeds find their places. You notice the subtle differences between seeds, the quiet diversity that promises balance. Some seem impatient, some thoughtful, some almost shy. You let yourself smile at this realization, a tiny amusement that drifts like a feather across the garden. Humor here is soft, tender, and entirely safe. It makes the pulse of life feel even more alive, more intimate, more yours. You breathe in warmth and exhale, letting yourself drift further into the folds of this inner world. And as the seeds settle, as the gardeners nod and the soil hums with satisfaction, you feel a gentle anticipation. Not the sharp kind that grips the mind, but a soft curiosity, like listening to the wind stir leaves outside a quiet window. There is more to come. There are currents yet to carry messages, sprouts yet to reach for light, unseen symphonies that will ripple through the garden. You are here, quietly observing, and part of the rhythm without needing to do anything at all. The seeds have begun their work. They will communicate, grow, twist, curl, and eventually bloom. You inhale slowly, sensing the warmth of possibility that pulses through the soil and your own chest alike. Exhale, letting it settle. You feel the garden expand subtly beneath your awareness, making space for new stories, new movements, new life. The gardeners stretch their tiny limbs, nod to one another, and continue their quiet labor, a lullaby that hums through every cell. And now, as your breath drifts soft and steady, you sense the faint, distant movement of currents that carry messages that will soon guide the seeds to grow, to explore, to meet the streams and roots waiting patiently. Exhale and let yourself float with them, a gentle companion to this unfolding. Inhale. Exhale. The garden is quiet and yet alive. The seeds of being have arrived. The next step is already whispering its presence, a slow, tender stir that will carry you into the soft, flowing currents of life, where streams move and gardeners drift along in harmony. You settle into the gentle warmth of your body, remembering the seeds that have quietly taken root. You feel the soft pulse beneath your skin, the whisper of life stretching and shifting. Inhale, slow and deep. Exhale, letting yourself sink into the familiarity of your inner garden. You trace the pathways you cannot see, imagining tiny rivers winding through hidden valleys, carrying life along their curves, meandering softly as if they too are breathing with you. The streams are warm, gentle currents that slip quietly past roots and soil, past tendrils and petals. You imagine them gliding like glassy ribbons, shimmering faintly in muted light. Nutrients drift in these waterways, like soft particles of sunlight caught in a stream. Tiny gardeners ride along, steering, nudging, adjusting, their delicate hands reaching into corners you cannot see, ensuring every seed and every root has what it needs. You inhale, following the current. Exhale, letting it hum along with your pulse. The rivers twist and turn, forming loops, small eddies where life gathers and rests. You imagine microbes pausing in these eddies, turning slowly, stretching, exchanging greetings with their neighbors. Some are playful, drifting in circles like children spinning in shallow water. You might smile softly at the thought, a quiet humor tucked into the folds of the garden. Even in the most secret corners, life seems to giggle at itself, a tiny acknowledgement that existence can be delightful, even invisible. Each current carries messages. Not words, exactly, but signals, like whispered letters traveling in the gentle flow. You imagine them drifting past a root, past a hidden cluster of leaves, informing the gardeners of needs, of abundance, of quiet changes. Inhale, and picture the warmth of these messages brushing against the seeds you met in the last chapter. Exhale, letting the gentle hum carry the information through the garden, a soft rhythm that reassures you, that reminds you all is connected, all is synchronized, all is safe. The streams change speed subtly, sometimes slow, sometimes quicken just enough to nudge a seedling or coax a root to stretch a little further. You breathe in the rhythm, matching it with your own inhale. Exhale, and allow yourself to drift, like a leaf in the current, soft, weightless, utterly supported by the gentle flow of life. Each microbe, each gardener, each tiny particle knows its place in the pattern. You are an observer and a participant, intertwined with every fold of soil and every ripple of water. Branches of currents spread like tributaries, weaving through the hidden garden. You trace one with your awareness, a soft ribbon of warmth twisting past unseen stones and curving roots. You notice a small whirlpool forming, a tiny gathering of life. Microbes glide around each other, a subtle dance of cooperation and coordination. Inhale, letting the rhythm fill your chest. Exhale, letting the pulse of the dance sink into your bones. You can almost hear the laughter of these tiny travelers, a sound like wind brushing through soft grass. You imagine nutrients drifting in as faint glimmers, carried by these streams. Some are heavy, thick with promise, others are light, playful as dust motes in sunlight. The gardeners guide them carefully, nudging the flow, ensuring that each path, each root, each seed receives just enough. You breathe slowly, noticing the pattern, the patient choreography, the way every movement is purposeful yet effortless. You might giggle softly, imagining a tiny gardener leaning over and giving a polite nod to a particularly wobbly nutrient particle, as if to say, "Take your time, my friend. We are all patient here." The currents also carry warmth, a soft and sustaining heat that seems to radiate from the very heart of the garden. You trace it in your imagination, following the path of light through hidden channels. Each pulse of life feels like a tender wave brushing across your consciousness. You inhale deeply, letting the warmth fill every corner of your awareness, then exhale, feeling it settle, a low hum vibrating in the soil beneath your imagined fingertips. The streams are alive, and their life is yours. Sometimes, the rivers meet small obstacles, twisted roots, hidden stones, tiny mounds of soil, and yet the flow adapts, bending around them, slowing to allow passage, swirling to explore alternate paths. You feel a sense of soft amusement, noticing that even the currents have personalities, quirks, and a sense of humor. Inhale, imagining the gentle tug of water nudging a root in just the right direction. Exhale, letting yourself float, weightless, a participant in this subtle choreography of life. You follow a current that carries a small cluster of microbes along a winding path. They pause at a seed, communicating quietly in chemical notes that hum like chimes. You inhale and imagine the warmth of their touch, the tiny hands guiding nutrients, the gentle folding of petals and leaves around the newcomers. Exhale, and let the reassurance settle in your chest. The garden is patient, the currents are steady, the gardeners know their work. You are safe, held in this slow, quiet symphony. The flow guides you deeper, past small hidden alcoves where roots curl like lazy ribbons, past miniature waterfalls where water trickles over unseen stones, a soft, musical note echoing in the stillness. Inhale, tracing the pathways. Exhale, feeling the gentle pulse of energy ripple through the garden and into your own body. You are aware of the rhythm now, slow and undulating, like the sway of branches in a summer breeze, like distant waves lapping a silent shore. And as you drift with the currents, you notice a subtle expansion, a widening of the waterways, a readiness for more life to travel along their paths. The streams are patient, the gardeners attentive, the seeds you met earlier still nestled safely in the soil. Inhale, letting this warmth flow into your chest. Exhale, letting it radiate outward, through your fingertips and toes, through every imagined root and leaf. The garden is alive, but calm. It is alive, but gentle. You feel yourself carried forward, slowly, softly, toward a new place where the conversations of the garden become more distinct. Currents hum a low note of reassurance, the pulse of life guiding you like a lullaby. Inhale, following it. Exhale, letting the gentle movement sink into your bones. The streams bend towards small, hidden pools where whispers of chemical dialogue gather, where gardeners exchange news, where seeds may one day begin to stretch into shoots and leaves. And now, as you drift on the currents, you sense a quiet invitation to lean in, to listen, to be present for the soft murmurs of life itself. The garden is awake, the seeds are settled, and the streams carry the promise of dialogue, of communication, of silent conversations that will guide growth in ways you will only just begin to notice. Exhale. Drift. The currents move gently, endlessly, a low, warm hum that carries you forward, like a leaf floating toward a pool of calm conversation, where the whispers of the tiny gardeners are ready to speak, and where the next chapter of life quietly awaits. You lie back, letting your awareness drift like a soft feather across the warm soil of your inner garden. The streams are still moving, carrying nutrients and life along gentle curves. You follow them with your breath. Inhale, feeling the current warm your chest. Exhale, letting it ripple softly through your limbs. Each breath is a bridge, connecting you to the gardeners who now begin their subtle conversations, quiet and almost musical, like wind rustling tiny leaves in an unseen grove. The conversations are chemical, invisible, a whisper of presence rather than a sound. Tiny messages flow along the currents, carried by the very rivers you traced in the last chapter. You imagine them like letters of light, drifting lazily through the water, pausing at roots, brushing past seeds, nodding gently to a tendril that stretches in curiosity. You might smile softly at the thought, even molecules have manners. They bow, they linger, they exchange pleasantries. The gardeners themselves seem aware, tiny hands adjusting soil, nudging nutrients toward where they are needed most. You inhale, feeling their delicate orchestration. Exhale, letting it settle in your chest like a warm hug. There is no rush. There is only the gentle rhythm of understanding, the harmony of life communicating with itself. You sense a patience that is deeper than time, a rhythm that ebbs and flows like the tide, persistent yet calm, reassuringly steady. Some messages ripple through the garden with a soft sparkle, announcing abundance or alerting to quiet needs. Others are almost shy, curling around roots before releasing their gentle hum. You imagine the tiny gardeners leaning over, squinting at the notes, adjusting, responding, as though proofreading letters from a dear friend. You giggle softly, aware that the humor here is tender, almost imperceptible, a wink from the unseen caretakers of life. As you follow the currents of communication, you feel the pulse of connection everywhere. Roots sense each other, leaves adjust their positions, seeds respond by curling and stretching in their own measured way. Inhale, tracing the pulse, exhale, letting it settle. You notice how each component of the garden knows its role, how each movement is purposeful yet effortless. You, too, are part of this choreography, breathing alongside the tiny symphony, your own rhythm blending seamlessly with theirs. The soil itself seems to hum, a low, constant vibration that you can almost hear if you close your eyes fully. It carries a quiet reassurance, a lullaby of cohesion. You trace your fingertips along imagined roots and petals, feeling their softness, their pliancy, their delicate responsiveness. Inhale. Exhale. You feel safe, embraced by a system that has evolved, slowly, patiently, over time. You realize that even in silence, there is conversation, there is life, there is warmth. You watch as a tiny gardener nudges a seed awake, guiding a nutrient particle toward it. The seed responds, curling just enough to catch the touch, stretching softly in acknowledgement. The currents carry subtle applause, a ripple of agreement that passes through hidden streams, stirring roots and tendrils alike. You inhale deeply, letting yourself feel the delight of life noticing itself. Exhale, and let it settle, a soft vibration in your chest, a reminder that all is well, and all is unfolding gently. Some conversations are playful, almost like a game of hide-and-seek. Microbes swirl around roots, exchanging signals that you imagine as tiny notes of music, short and whimsical. You might smile at their mischief, imagining a little gardener rolling its eyes at a mischievous nutrient particle, then leaning down to set it gently back on course. The humor is soft, intermittent, a small ripple across the calm pond of your awareness, and it makes the garden feel even more alive. Breath by breath, you sense the scale of these dialogues expanding. Messages ripple through clusters of microbes, travel along veins and channels, spiral around roots and petals. You inhale, imagining the tiny currents carrying conversations like whispers in the wind. Exhale, letting your chest sink into the warmth, the soft vibration of life that seems to pulse through every cell. You are held in this rhythm, a quiet participant in a symphony you can neither fully see nor hear, yet know intimately. The gardeners themselves seem to bend and sway to the rhythm of their own communication. Some pause, listening to a message arriving on a warm current. Some lean in closer, nudging a petal or turning a root to catch a passing whisper. Inhale, letting the gentle orchestration fill your mind. Exhale, letting the reassurance sink deeper. The garden is alive, aware, and quietly self-correcting. Its intelligence is soft, patient, unhurried, and profoundly intimate. As you breathe, You notice that the seeds from the last chapter respond to these conversations. They curl, stretch, and pulse, subtly exploring the soil that surrounds them. Tiny roots twist toward helpful currents, leaves unfurl toward warmth and gentle light. The gardeners guide them with soft nudges, patient and deliberate. You inhale, imagining the ripple of life expanding, exhale, feeling your own awareness expand in tandem, as though the garden and your breath share the same soft rhythm. The air in your imagined garden is warm and still, carrying a low, comforting hum, the sound of life quietly attending to itself. You might feel the faint vibration along your spine, a subtle reminder that even unseen conversations carry energy, carry reassurance, carry connection. You smile softly at the thought, inhaling and exhaling slowly, feeling your heartbeat sync with the pulse of the tiny gardeners. And now, as the conversations continue, you feel a gentle anticipation, not sharp or urgent, but soft and luminous, like sunlight filtering through a dense canopy. Messages are moving toward the roots and seeds, guiding them gently, telling them where to grow, how to flourish, when to pause. Exhale, and let the warmth of understanding settle in your chest. Inhale, and feel the tide of life hum through every fiber of your inner garden. The gardeners nod to one another in quiet acknowledgement. Currents ripple softly along the soil. Seeds stretch, petals adjust, roots curl, and all the while, the air carries the low, resonant whisper of life and conversation. You are a witness, a companion, a quiet part of this gentle symphony. And as your breath drifts slow and steady, you sense the next soft step of the garden waiting, the soil itself, the comfort of its warmth, the patient layers that nurture life in silence. Exhale. Drift. Inhale. You are ready to feel the soil, to rest in it, to trust it, as the garden continues to unfold around you. You settle once again into the warmth of your inner garden, feeling the rivers of life flowing beneath, the seeds curling softly, and the tiny gardeners exchanging whispers and gentle chemical melodies. You inhale, feeling the pulse of life under your skin, the subtle warmth that seems to radiate from the soil beneath your imagined fingertips. Exhale, and let your body sink deeper into the comfort of this vast, hidden garden. Each breath is a soft tide, rolling slowly, carrying you closer to the heart of the soil. The soil is dark, rich, and pliant, like velvet that hums softly beneath your touch. You imagine leaning into it, pressing your palms against its warmth, feeling the faint vibrations of unseen life. Roots twist beneath the surface, curling with purpose, tendrils brushing against hidden stones, nudging each other with gentle familiarity. The gardeners move through it gracefully, their hands delicate and precise, turning the soil here, loosening it there, creating tiny pockets where life can nestle safely. Inhale. Exhale. Let the softness hold you. Tiny seeds from the previous chapter rest quietly in the soil, anchored in the nourishing darkness. You trace your breath down into them, imagining the warmth of air and light gently soaking through layers of soil, carried by currents and roots. The soil cradles each seed with patience, holding it steady while life within adjusts, grows, and prepares to reach upward when the time is right. You might smile softly, thinking that even the soil seems to sigh in relief at being asked to hold such precious life. The soil itself breathes, expanding and contracting in quiet rhythms. Inhale, and feel it rise slightly beneath your awareness. Exhale, letting it settle, a soft wave of reassurance that courses through your body. Tiny streams of nutrients travel invisibly, curling around roots and microbes, guided by the gardeners with hands both tender and skilled. You imagine the flow like warm honey, slow and sticky, carrying life to every corner, every crevice, every hidden fold of the garden. Some microbes pause in the soil, burrowing just enough to listen to the subtle vibrations of life. Others glide along soft tunnels, checking on roots or whispering to seeds. You might giggle softly, imagining one tiny gardener leaning over to nudge a particularly stubborn seedling with a polite, "Come along now, nothing to worry about." The humor is delicate, fleeting, a warm ripple across the calm pond of your awareness. Inhale. Exhale. Let it drift over you. You notice layers in the soil, soft strata that hold warmth and moisture, air and nutrients, tiny hollows and tunnels where life thrives unseen. Each layer has a function, each layer has a purpose, each layer hums a quiet song of stability. You follow your breath into them, slow inhale, feeling the richness of hidden depths, long exhale, letting it settle, imagining your own body aligning with the layers beneath, cradled, safe, whole. Roots anchor themselves firmly in this comforting medium. They curl around nutrients, tap into tiny pockets of water, and adjust with patient intelligence. You inhale, imagining their soft twisting and stretching, the tender tug as they respond to subtle cues from currents and gardeners alike. Exhale, letting your awareness sink further into this interconnected, nurturing world. You feel held, supported, safe. The soil does not judge. The soil simply supports life, gently, patiently, entirely. Occasionally, you see a small root tip brushing against a hidden stone. Instead of resistance, there is adaptation. The soil gives just enough, adjusts ever so slightly, allowing the root to find its path. You inhale slowly, imagining the grace in these movements. Exhale, feeling the warmth spread through your chest, the subtle reassurance that life adjusts gently when given space and care. The gardeners smile in your imagination, knowing that every small shift in soil or root matters, yet none of it is hurried. Petals of life above the soil seem to shimmer faintly, bathed in the warm, filtered glow of imaginary light. You follow your breath, tracing from root to stem, from soil to tip, and feel the pulse of energy flowing upward. Inhale. Exhale. The soil beneath hums softly, a gentle vibration that matches the slow rhythm of your heartbeat. Every particle of life, every fold of earth, every tiny gardener contributes to this ongoing lullaby of support, of nourishment, of quiet care. The soil cradles more than seeds and roots. It holds memories of water, whispers of nutrients, echoes of previous growth. You inhale and feel the faint resonance of the garden's past, its soft wisdom. Exhale, letting it settle, letting the awareness drift through your chest, your belly, your limbs. There is no rush here. There is only the soft, persistent reassurance that all is unfolding as it should, that stability emerges slowly, lovingly, like sunlight spreading across a quiet hillside. Occasionally, the gardeners pause to rest, leaning on a root or dusting soil from tiny hands. You might smile at their small gestures, the almost human-like care in their movements, the subtle humor in their polite bows or whispered nods. You inhale, noticing the warmth in their touch, exhale, feeling the calm spread into your own body. The soil holds them as much as they hold it, a gentle feedback loop of care, of life attending to life. As your awareness drifts further, you sense that the soil is also teaching patience. It shows that growth is gradual, that stability requires quiet layering, that nourishment arrives in small, persistent measures rather than sudden bursts. You inhale, feeling the lesson seep into your chest. Exhale, letting it resonate through your limbs. The garden whispers in hushed tones, its voice like the soft rustling of leaves. All is well, all is in order, all is cared for. And now, as you breathe deeply, slow and steady, you feel the gentle expansion of the soil beneath, a widening of space, a readiness to nurture more life. Tiny gardeners adjust, making room for new growth, smoothing paths for roots yet unseen, arranging small pockets where seeds will one day stretch toward warmth and light. Inhale. Exhale. You sense that life in this soil is deliberate, tender, and infinitely patient. The soil cradles you as well, a soft, living foundation beneath your awareness. You feel the warmth, the hum, the low vibration of life attending to itself. You imagine yourself sinking ever so slightly into this richness, feeling each layer hold you, support you, and soothe you. You inhale slowly, letting the depth fill your chest. Exhale, letting it settle into your limbs, a gentle, tactile reassurance that the gardeners, the soil, and the currents are all attentive, all kind, all part of the same quiet symphony. And now, as your awareness rests within the soil, you sense the first hints of renewal, the subtle trimming of roots, the soft reshaping of space, the gentle reorganization that allows life to flourish. You inhale, tracing it with your mind's eye. Exhale, feeling the rhythm resonate in your chest, in your belly, in every imagined petal and tendril. The soil holds, the gardeners attend, the currents flow, and you drift softly, carried by the calm, quiet orchestration of life itself, ready to feel the gentle pruning and tender renewal of the next chapter. You settle into the soft, warm soil of your inner garden, tracing with your awareness the slow currents, the roots stretching, the seeds quietly preparing to bloom. Inhale. Exhale. You feel the pulse of life beneath your skin, steady and calm, like a low hum vibrating through the heart of the garden. The gardeners move gently, hands careful and light, attending not only to growth but also to the delicate removal of what is old, what is no longer needed. You feel your breath sync with the rhythm of their work, slow, steady, and full of quiet assurance. Pruning is not harsh. It is a whisper of care, a gentle nudging of life toward balance. You imagine tiny hands brushing leaves, trimming petals, adjusting roots, always with reverence, always with intention. Some roots are curled too tightly, so a gardener untangles them softly. Some shoots lean in directions that no longer serve the garden's harmony, so they are guided gently back, never forced, never torn. You inhale, feeling the grace in each movement. Exhale, letting the reassurance settle into your chest. The soil is pliant, rich, and yielding. It cradles the gardener's hands and the roots they attend to. You imagine the warmth of the soil flowing into every fingertip, into every curl of root, into every tiny bud that hesitates in its growth. There is humor here, delicate and soft, like a gardener quietly shaking their head at a stubborn tendril that refuses to bend, then leaning over and murmuring encouragement. You might smile, a slow, gentle smile, feeling the warmth ripple across your chest. Pruning is also a kind of conversation. Each movement is a message, a dialogue between gardener and root, between gardener and petal, between gardener and seed. You inhale, imagining chemical whispers moving along currents, tiny notes of encouragement or gentle redirection. Exhale, letting the rhythm of these messages flow through your awareness. The garden is patient. You are patient. Every adjustment is small, precise, deliberate, and entirely calm. Leaves that have grown too densely lean back slightly, and gardeners adjust them, letting light filter through to roots and shoots beneath. You follow your breath down, imagining the soft play of light across soil and water, the subtle shadows curling around tendrils. Inhale. Exhale. You feel the slow sweep of life, the careful orchestration of energy, and the gentle reassurance that everything is exactly as it should be. The humor of life persists quietly in small gestures, the tilt of a leaf, a root curling in playful defiance, but never rushes, never startles. Tiny streams in the soil carry nutrients along paths now cleared by careful trimming. You imagine the water curling around a root that has been coaxed back into balance, carrying warmth and nourishment to every cell it passes. Inhale, tracing the currents. Exhale, feeling the pulse of life in the soil, in the roots, in your own chest, a subtle resonance that hums low and steady. You are part of this rhythm, and the rhythm is part of you. You notice small shoots unfurling in response to the pruning, stretching toward light and warmth. Some were hesitant, folded in on themselves, and now they reach slowly, deliberately, encouraged by the gentle guidance of the gardeners. Inhale, letting yourself trace the curl of each new tendril. Exhale, feeling your own awareness expand, drifting softly alongside these tiny gestures of life. The garden is tender, and so are you. Roots whisper along currents, communicating their gratitude, their readiness to adapt, their quiet acceptance of change. You imagine a tiny gardener brushing soil from a root tip, giving a polite nod of approval. You might smile at the thought, a gentle, private amusement that drifts like pollen through the air. Inhale, noticing the warmth of the soil and the hum of life. Exhale, letting the subtle humor settle, a soft vibration that echoes through your chest. Pruning also allows space for new growth, new paths, new discoveries. You follow your breath, imagining the gardeners moving quietly, lifting tiny stones, shifting soil, making channels for future streams and shoots. The garden sighs softly beneath your awareness, a low, contented hum. Inhale, letting the soil breathe with you. Exhale, sinking deeper into the warmth, the calm, the infinite patience of life tending life. Petals curl in gentle response to the renewed space, leaves adjust to the subtle shift in light, roots twist and untangle. You follow each motion with your breath, slow inhale, tracing the curves, soft exhale, letting the rhythm settle. The garden is alive and attentive, yet entirely calm. The pulse of life beneath your skin, beneath the soil, beneath each tendril and leaf, mirrors your own steady breathing. Inhale. Exhale. You are held, cradled, nurtured. The gardeners pause occasionally, leaning lightly on a root or brushing soil from their hands. You might imagine them exchanging small nods, whispers of satisfaction, quiet humor tucked into gestures too subtle to see. The garden is a living orchestra, each movement measured, each breath deliberate, each action gentle and intentional. You inhale, feeling their rhythm align with your own. Exhale, letting it spread through your chest and limbs, settling softly, completely. And as the gentle pruning continues, you feel a soft expansion, a widening of space, a quiet readiness for the garden to flourish anew. Roots and shoots find room to stretch. Leaves tilt to catch subtle glimmers of light. Petals unfold with patience, coaxed by invisible hands. Inhale, letting yourself follow the rhythm. Exhale, sinking deeper into the calm orchestration of life. The gardeners hum softly, a lullaby that travels through soil and root and tendril, through every tiny corner of the garden. You feel the first hints of renewal reaching your own awareness, a tender unfolding of calm, patience, and quiet delight. Life is attending to life, and you are a part of it. Inhale. Exhale. You notice the subtle tug of currents, guiding nutrients to roots, messages to seeds, signals to petals. You follow the flow, drifting slowly, weightless, a companion to the gentle labor of growth and adjustment. And now, as your breath drifts soft and steady, you sense the next step unfolding quietly ahead. The garden has been pruned. The soil has been cleared. Life has made room for itself. You inhale one last time, tracing the subtle currents of nourishment and the faint laughter of tiny gardeners at work. Exhale, letting it settle into your chest, your limbs, your awareness. The garden is ready to hum with flavors, to sing with the quiet symphony of taste and nourishment that will arrive in the next chapter. You settle into the familiar warmth of your inner garden, feeling the currents flowing, the roots curling, and the tiny gardeners tending their soil. Inhale, tracing the gentle pulse of life along hidden streams. Exhale, letting the subtle hum of the garden ripple through your chest. Today, you notice something new, the subtle awakening of flavor, the quiet, invisible taste of life moving along its secret paths. You might smile softly, imagining a leaf nudging a root as though to say, "Pay attention. Something delightful is coming." Flavors are not only in food, you realize they are in the currents, in the soil, in the chemical whispers between microbes. You inhale slowly, imagining the first notes of taste drifting along the bloodstream, carried like petals on a warm stream. Exhale, letting them settle, mingling with the warmth of the soil, the gentle hum of currents, and the soft guidance of the tiny gardeners. Each flavor is a note, each interaction a chord, creating a symphony that is quiet, delicate, yet profoundly alive. Tiny microbes move along the currents, tasting, exchanging, testing, and responding. You imagine one pausing to swirl around a root, sampling a particle of nutrient, then nudging another to try it, their little hands almost playful in their movements. You might giggle softly, imagining their polite chatter and chemical hums, their subtle enthusiasm for this slow, quiet tasting. Inhale, following the currents. Exhale, feeling the warm vibration of life settle into your chest. Every bite of nourishment carries potential, each nutrient a tiny wave of energy that travels through the garden's hidden pathways. You trace its journey, imagining it as a glimmering ribbon, winding past roots, brushing seeds, pooling briefly in soft hollows before continuing onward. The gardeners guide it gently, ensuring that every molecule reaches its intended place. Inhale, tracing the ripple of life. Exhale, letting your own breath merge with the soft rhythm of nourishment moving through the soil. Some flavors linger longer than others, settling into microhabitats where they are most needed. Seeds respond to these currents, stretching slowly, curling carefully, acknowledging the nourishment that passes through them. Roots twist gently to follow the scent of nutrients, leaves tilt to catch the warmth of a subtle chemical hum. Inhale, noticing how the flavors interact. Exhale, feeling the calm, the slow, quiet satisfaction of life tending life, a tender symphony that unfolds in rhythm with your breath. The soil itself seems to participate in this symphony. It hums faintly as flavors move through it, vibrates softly as nutrients disperse, and cradles every tender root and seed that experiences the taste of life. You might imagine a tiny gardener tapping a root with a polite nod, acknowledging that this morsel is exactly where it should be. You inhale, letting the warmth and reassurance wash through your chest. Exhale, feeling it ripple through every limb, every imagined petal and tendril. Some currents carry playful flavors, light, fleeting, almost mischievous, brushing past roots and seeds before twirling away. Others are deep, rich, lingering, settling into hidden alcoves where life absorbs and transforms them. You follow the currents, inhaling the gentle rhythm of flavors moving, exhaling to release any tension, letting the symphony of nourishment lull your awareness further into calm. Even in your imagination, you feel the music, soft, undulating, infinite. The tiny gardeners orchestrate this symphony, nudging flavors here, tilting a leaf there, brushing soil from a root to make way for a particularly rich note of nutrient. You smile softly at their delicate attention, the gentle humor in their subtle choreography. Inhale, tracing the movement of flavors through hidden channels. Exhale, letting the warm, melodic pulse of life settle into your awareness. The garden sings, and you are part of the music, drifting slowly along with every note, every chord, every gentle vibration. Seeds respond as the symphony unfolds. Some stretch just enough to taste the passing currents. Others curl gently, absorbing the energy, storing it for future growth. Roots twist, leaves sway, petals shimmer. You follow your breath, slow and deliberate, inhale, feeling the flavor travel along a hidden stream, exhale, letting it ripple through your chest and out to your fingertips. You feel alive, present, and entirely cradled by the soft music of the garden. Some flavors are almost shy, pausing to linger only briefly, brushing a root, then moving on. Others are bold, curling around roots, twisting through microbe clusters, settling for a moment in a hidden pocket of soil. You inhale, tracing the subtle dance. Exhale, noticing how your own awareness mirrors the flow, gentle and responsive, alive with curiosity yet entirely calm. The symphony is patient, deliberate, a lullaby of life attending to itself. You notice tiny harmonies forming between nutrients and microbes. A microbe samples a passing flavor and shares it with a root. A root stretches toward a lingering note, sending a subtle chemical wave in response. You might smile softly at their quiet politeness, imagining a microbe leaning in with a delicate bow to share its discovery. Inhale, letting the warmth and light of this symphony fill your chest. Exhale, sinking deeper into the calm orchestration of life itself. Currents carry these interactions through hidden streams, gently curving around obstacles, nudging flavors toward roots, seeds, and petals. You follow them with your breath, inhale, tracing the flow, exhale, letting it settle. The garden is alive, but entirely patient. Every note, every gesture, every chemical whisper is soft, deliberate, and kind. You are part of this music, your awareness floating weightless on each gentle wave of flavor and light. And now, as your breath drifts slow and steady, you feel the subtle expansion of the symphony, a quiet readiness for even more complex melodies to arrive. Flavors will continue to travel, nutrients will mingle, microbes will communicate, seeds will respond, and roots will adjust. Inhale, following the movement. Exhale, letting it settle into your chest. The garden is humming, gentle and harmonious, and the next quiet step awaits, the interplay of shadows and light, rest and growth, in the balance that sustains life. The symphony softens, and your awareness drifts with it, carried along by slow currents and tender melodies. You feel the warmth of the soil, the gentle pulse of life, the quiet attentiveness of the gardeners. Inhale. Exhale. The flavors linger as whispers, hinting at hidden patterns, delicate harmonies yet to emerge, while your mind settles into the gentle anticipation of shadow and light, the slow dance of rest and renewal that will carry you into the next chapter. You settle into the warm soil of your inner garden, following the gentle currents, the roots, and the softly flowing streams of life. Inhale, tracing the rhythm of nourishment, of tiny gardeners tending every corner. Exhale, letting the slow pulse of the garden settle through your chest, through your limbs, through your awareness. You notice the subtle play of light filtering through imagined leaves, dappled patterns that dance softly on petals and roots, a gentle reminder that the garden lives in rhythm with day and night, sun and shadow. Shadows are as important as light. You breathe slowly, imagining areas of the soil resting in soft shade, where roots curl and seeds pause. Inhale, feeling the warmth of light contrast with the cool hush of shadow. Exhale, letting the subtle difference settle in your chest. The tiny gardeners move quietly in these spaces, their hands delicate, their attention calm. They know which roots need rest and which leaves require light. You notice the care in their movements, the patient choreography of life itself. Some roots stretch lazily in the soft darkness, curling as if to hug themselves, while nearby leaves tilt to catch faint glimmers of light. You imagine the contrast of warmth and coolness, of stillness and subtle activity. Inhale, tracing the gentle sway of leaves, the soft coil of roots. Exhale, letting the rhythm sink deeper into your awareness. The garden balances itself, and so do you, cradled in the quiet wisdom of rest and growth. Light moves through the canopy in soft waves, glancing off petals, catching the edges of leaves, and reflecting faintly in the streams of water that wind beneath the soil. You imagine a tiny gardener pausing to watch the shimmer, a small smile on their imagined face, appreciating the delicate interplay. You might giggle softly at their attentiveness, the almost imperceptible humor tucked into the act of noticing. Inhale, letting the light fill your awareness. Exhale, letting the shadows deepen your calm. Microbes work tirelessly in these quiet spaces. Some drift along currents, exchanging chemical whispers. Some burrow gently in shaded pockets, repairing, replenishing, reorganizing. You inhale slowly, following their subtle activity. Exhale, noticing the hum of resilience, the quiet rhythm of repair. There is no rush here. There is no urgency. Just the slow, steady pulse of life attending to itself, a pattern you can feel in your own chest, your own limbs, your own breath. The interplay of shadow and light creates gentle contrasts, small spaces for rest, small spaces for action. You imagine roots retreating into darkness, curling around tender pockets of soil. You imagine shoots leaning toward sunlight, stretching delicately, measuring their energy. Inhale, tracing the movement of each root, each leaf, each petal. Exhale, letting it settle. You feel the balance mirrored within yourself, a soft reassurance that both activity and rest are vital, that both are embraced with gentle care. Occasionally, you notice tiny bursts of light catching a root or a seedling in just the right angle. The gardener nearby tilts a leaf slightly, allowing the shimmer to fall exactly where it is needed. You imagine their quiet satisfaction, the soft humor in their patient attention. Inhale, following the light. Exhale, letting it ripple through your chest, through your awareness, a gentle warmth that settles softly like a candle flame in the evening. Shadows move subtly as well, shifting with currents, with air, with the slow, patient pulse of life. Some seeds respond by curling into themselves, resting. Others stretch slightly, adjusting their position, feeling the cool hush of shade before returning toward light. You inhale, noticing the quiet choreography. Exhale, feeling the rhythm align with your own breathing, a slow, undulating wave of calm that carries reassurance through every part of your body. The gardeners navigate this balance with delicate hands. Some brush soil from roots, adjusting gently. Others lift a leaf just enough to catch a glimmer of light, nudging nutrients along hidden currents. You imagine their careful attention, their quiet smiles, their soft humor tucked into every gesture. Inhale, tracing the motion. Exhale, letting it settle in your chest. The garden thrives in contrasts, in nuance, in patience, and you are part of it, weightless, floating alongside its gentle rhythms. Some currents in the soil carry whispers of repair, tiny messages between microbes and roots, chemical notes that hum softly, almost like music. You inhale slowly, letting the vibrations wash through your awareness. Exhale, letting them settle, feeling a warmth spread through your chest. The garden's unseen work is continuous, subtle, resilient. Even when shadows dominate, life persists, moving gently, carefully, with tender attention to balance and harmony. Petals that have been resting in the shade slowly tilt toward the soft light. Leaves adjust imperceptibly, roots twist gently, the soil itself seems to hum a quiet acknowledgement. Inhale, tracing the interplay of light and shadow. Exhale, letting it sink into your limbs, your chest, your awareness. You are cradled by this slow, precise attention to life, knowing that even unseen labor matters, even quiet care is profound. The air of the garden carries a soft, warm hum, vibrating through soil and root, through currents and tiny hands. You notice it in your breath, slow and steady. Inhale. Exhale. There is humor tucked in here, too, the gentle tilt of a leaf, a root curling with subtle defiance, a microbe pausing as if to sigh at a particularly tricky turn of a stream. You smile softly, weightless, cradled, assured. And now, as your awareness drifts with slow, steady breathing, you notice a quiet expansion. The shadows shift, the light stretches across leaves, roots twist toward warmth, and seeds respond gently to the changes. The gardeners move softly, tending, balancing, nudging with patience. Inhale, tracing the pulse of life. Exhale, letting it settle. The garden is steady, resilient, attentive. You feel your own pulse align with its rhythm. As the play of shadows and light continues, you sense the first hints of gentle turbulence, the soft disturbances that will come in the next chapter, changes in diet, in environment, in gentle waves that ripple through the currents of life. Inhale, following the hum of stability. Exhale, letting it settle in your chest. The garden rests in balance now, its rhythm slow, deliberate, and ready to adapt. You drift with it, carried softly by the calm assurance that all change is gentle, all adjustments are kind, all is well. And as your breath flows in and out, you sense the next chapter quietly waiting, storms that whisper, subtle shifts in the garden, currents bending, roots responding. You inhale once more, tracing the soft play of shadow and light. Exhale, letting the warmth settle into your chest. You drift, weightless and calm, ready to float into the soft turbulence of the next gentle lesson, the next quiet pulse of life, where even change is part of the lullaby of growth. You settle once more into the warm, familiar soil of your inner garden, tracing currents, roots, and tender shoots with slow, steady breaths. Inhale, feeling the hum of life pulse beneath your awareness. Exhale, letting the warmth of the soil, the gentle sway of leaves, and the patient rhythm of the gardener's cradle you. Today, you notice a subtle change, the soft approach of a storm, a gentle breeze that stirs currents, nudges leaves, and whispers across petals. Storms in this garden are quiet. They are not harsh, they do not rush. They drift like a sigh, brushing roots and leaves, brushing soil and streams with a soft, almost playful touch. You inhale, feeling the gentle pulse of change as currents shift and adjust. Exhale, letting the soft movement ripple through your chest. Tiny gardeners lean into the wind, adjusting a leaf here, guiding a root there, their hands tender and precise. You might smile softly, imagining them exchanging polite nods as they navigate this subtle turbulence. Some currents move faster than usual, carrying nutrients and messages along new paths. You follow them with your breath, inhale, tracing the swirling patterns, exhale, letting the rhythm settle in your awareness. Roots twist slightly, seeds curl and uncurl, leaves tilt in response to the invisible force. The storm is present, yet entirely gentle, like a whispering wind through a quiet forest. You feel your chest expand with each inhale, exhale, and sense the reassurance of adaptability in every pulse of the garden. Microbes respond with remarkable patience. Some drift with the currents, adjusting their paths, communicating subtle chemical notes to one another. Some burrow deeper into soft soil, curling into tiny pockets of safety. You imagine a microbe nudging another with a tiny hand, a soft gesture of reassurance, a quiet humor tucked into their work. Inhale, tracing the slow, deliberate movements. Exhale, letting the calm pulse through your chest and limbs, a steady tide of reassurance. Leaves sway gently in the shifting air, petals flutter in delicate response, and roots twist in careful, considered arcs. You follow each movement with your breath, slow inhale, tracing the gentle sway, exhale, letting it ripple through your chest, your arms, your awareness. The storm is not destructive. It is a soft teacher, reminding the garden and you of the beauty of flexibility, of the wisdom in gentle adaptation, of the rhythm in minor disruption. The soil itself seems to hum, vibrating with subtle energy as currents shift. Tiny gardeners brush soil from roots, make small adjustments, redirect flows of nutrients. You inhale, imagining each micromovement, each thoughtful nudge. Exhale, feeling the warmth of attentiveness settle in your chest. Humor drifts softly across the scene, a leaf tilts slightly too far, a root curls stubbornly, and a tiny gardener chuckles in your imagination, shaking their head with tender amusement. Some seeds pause in the soil, waiting, curling in gentle anticipation, while others stretch cautiously toward warmth and light. Inhale, noticing the subtle dance of movement and stillness. Exhale, letting the rhythm of adaptability sink deep into your awareness. You are part of this quiet choreography. You drift alongside currents, roots, and shoots, cradled by the calm presence of life responding to change. Storms carry messages. Currents redirect nutrients, chemical signals shift slightly, and gentle vibrations ripple through roots and petals. You follow them with your breath, tracing the subtle communication. Inhale, feeling the guidance of the currents. Exhale, letting the quiet reassurance fill your chest. Every element of the garden is attentive, adjusting, bending, stretching, but never breaking. You feel your own body and mind mirror this gentle resilience, weightless and calm. Petals twist to catch light through fleeting gaps in the canopy. Leaves bend and sway with the rhythm of soft wind. Roots curl gently around tender pockets of soil, exploring and responding with patience. Tiny gardeners hover, making subtle nudges, adjusting, smoothing, attending to the nuanced needs of every root, every seed, every leaf. You inhale, tracing the delicate orchestration. Exhale, letting it settle, a soft hum of balance within your own awareness. The storm may ripple across currents, lifting nutrients along unfamiliar paths, carrying chemical messages in new directions, but the garden adapts with gentle grace. Inhale, following the movement. Exhale, letting it spread through your chest, a reminder that disruption is neither dangerous nor permanent. The rhythm of life is unhurried, deliberate, resilient. You feel the pulse of adaptation in every corner of your inner garden. Some currents move slowly, carrying whispers of repair, of quiet corrections. Microbes communicate with chemical notes that ripple softly, nudging roots, guiding leaves, reassuring seeds. You might imagine one leaning over to pat a root gently, a tiny smile of patience, a whisper of encouragement. Inhale, noticing the warmth of attentiveness. Exhale, letting the calm pulse through your chest, through your limbs, through your awareness. The storm, though present, does not disturb the harmony entirely. Currents bend, roots twist, leaves sway, but all adjustments are measured, deliberate, and entirely gentle. You breathe slowly, tracing the soft movements. Inhale, following the dance of currents and soil. Exhale, letting the rhythm settle, letting the quiet reassurance sink deep into your chest. Even in turbulence, life persists. Even in soft disruption, care is constant. As the storm drifts past, currents slow, leaves settle, roots untangle. Microbes return to their gentle hums, seeds curl and stretch with calm curiosity. You inhale, feeling the pulse of restoration. Exhale, letting the warmth and quiet settle into your chest. The garden sighs softly, a low, comforting vibration that you feel in every cell, every imagined petal, every curling root. Balance returns, gently, like wind settling after a whispering storm. Tiny gardeners pause, brushing soil from their hands, exchanging quiet nods of satisfaction, perhaps a subtle wink at one another. You might smile softly, feeling the humor tucked in their patience, the tenderness in every gesture. Inhale, letting the calm fill your awareness. Exhale, sinking deeper into the warmth and resilience of the garden. You are cradled, attended to, held by the gentle rhythm of life itself. And now, as your awareness drifts with slow, steady breaths, you notice the garden stretching, shifting, realigning. Currents ripple softly, roots twist in subtle arcs, leaves tilt to catch lingering light. Inhale, tracing the quiet recovery. Exhale, letting it settle in your chest, your limbs, your awareness. The storm has passed. The garden endures. You are weightless, calm, attentive, and carried forward by the gentle pulse of resilience. And as your breath flows in and out, you sense the next chapter quietly waiting, growth that reaches full bloom, flourishing in harmony, petals, roots, and gardeners all singing together in quiet abundance. Inhale, following the soft currents of renewal. Exhale, letting the warmth settle into your chest. You drift, weightless and calm, ready to float into the abundant bloom of the next gentle lesson, where life's harmony fully unfolds. You settle into the familiar warmth of your inner garden, feeling the currents flowing slowly, roots stretching, and tiny gardeners attending every corner with care. Inhale, tracing the subtle pulses of life that ripple along streams, along tendrils, along soft soil. Exhale, letting the warmth settle through your chest, through your awareness, through the entirety of your imagined garden. Today, you notice the garden in full bloom, petals unfurling, roots reaching, currents humming a quiet melody that you can feel within yourself. Blossoms rise gently from stems, petals curling with delicate intention. You follow your breath as it drifts along the curves of leaves and the edges of blossoms. Inhale, feeling the soft warmth radiate through the soil, the currents, the roots, and your own body. Exhale, letting it ripple outward, settling in your chest like a lullaby of subtle light. Tiny gardeners move quietly among the blooms, brushing soil from petals, adjusting leaves, ensuring every microbe finds its proper place in the symphony of life. The soil beneath the blooms is rich, pliant, and humming softly. You imagine roots extending into every corner, entwining gently, weaving a tapestry of nourishment and support. Currents of water and nutrients glide through hidden tunnels, carrying warmth, sustenance, and quiet whispers from microbe to root, root to seed, seed to petal. Inhale, tracing their movement. Exhale, letting the rhythm settle into your awareness. The garden thrives in soft harmony, patient, deliberate, and entirely serene. Microbes glide along the currents, exploring petals, seeds, and roots, adjusting to the soft architecture of blooms. Some pause to linger near a particularly fragrant blossom, as if savoring a secret note. Others twirl around a root, nudging a fellow microbe politely. You might smile softly at their quiet attentiveness, the subtle humor tucked into their gentle labor. Inhale, following the tiny whirl of activity. Exhale, feeling the calm pulse of harmony settle deep into your chest. Leaves tilt toward warm streams of imagined light, catching it and reflecting it gently across petals and soil. Roots curl with ease, stretching into pockets of nutrient-rich soil, meeting microbe and gardener alike. Inhale, tracing the movement of each element. Exhale, letting the soft rhythm wash through your awareness. You feel cradled by the garden, held in the slow, deliberate unfolding of bloom, held by life attending to itself with patient grace. The air of the garden carries a soft vibration, almost like music. Each bloom contributes its note, each root its bass line, each microbe a trill. You imagine the tiny gardeners pausing to listen, nodding politely at the delicate chords forming along currents. Inhale, letting the soft melody enter your awareness. Exhale, feeling your body resonate with the gentle harmonics of flourishing life. The garden is alive, but never rushed, a lullaby of growth and tender abundance. Petals stretch further, leaves adjust minutely, roots curl around hidden pockets of soil. Currents carry nutrients to places where they are most needed. You follow your breath, tracing each tiny movement, each subtle adjustment. Inhale, noticing the warmth of life spreading through soil, through roots, through petals. Exhale, letting it settle, letting yourself merge with the calm pulse of abundant growth. You are part of this harmony, weightless, attentive, serene. Some blooms shimmer faintly in the gentle light, catching subtle glimmers as currents carry nutrients and whispers of chemical communication. Tiny gardeners lean in, adjusting petals, brushing leaves, making sure every element aligns in perfect, quiet orchestration. You might chuckle softly, imagining their polite, meticulous bows, their tiny gestures of appreciation for the unfolding harmony. Inhale, tracing the soft motion. Exhale, letting it settle like warmth spreading across your chest. The soil beneath supports all this abundance. Currents of life glide invisibly, guiding nutrients to roots, whispers to seeds, messages to petals. You inhale slowly, following the flow. Exhale, letting it settle into your awareness. The garden thrives not because it rushes, but because it balances, because it nurtures, because each tiny part is attended to with care. You feel your own pulse echoing this rhythm, slow and deliberate, gentle and secure. Microbes and gardeners alike move in a quiet, intricate dance. Some pause to linger near a newly opened bloom, exchanging subtle chemical greetings. Others glide along currents, delivering nourishment, encouragement, and small doses of humor, a playful nudge of a root here, a tiny bow of a microbe there. Inhale, letting the gentle orchestration drift into your chest. Exhale, feeling the warmth ripple outward, a soft wave of calm that settles across every part of your awareness. Petals reflect sunlight like tiny mirrors, leaves glint in soft streams of light, and roots anchor the garden with quiet precision. Currents hum through the soil, carrying life along well-worn paths and new channels alike. You follow your breath, tracing each subtle wave. Inhale, noticing the play of color, warmth, and motion. Exhale, letting it sink into your chest, your awareness, your body. The garden is radiant, tender, alive with gentle abundance. And now, as your awareness drifts through the blooming garden, you feel the fullness of its harmony. Currents, roots, petals, microbes, and tiny gardeners all contribute to the quiet symphony. Inhale, tracing the flow. Exhale, letting it settle, letting it expand into your chest and limbs. You sense connection not only within your inner garden, but with the wider rhythms of life, with the quiet pulse of nature itself, with the soft, sustaining flow of the world around you. The garden hums, vibrant yet calm, steady yet full of gentle motion. You imagine tiny gardeners pausing to admire a particularly radiant bloom, exchanging small nods of satisfaction, perhaps even a playful sigh of relief. You might smile softly, letting the humor drift over your awareness. Inhale, feeling the warmth and fullness of life around you. Exhale, letting it settle deep in your chest, in your awareness, in your calm. And as your breath drifts slow and steady, you notice the garden expanding, stretching, flourishing in ways subtle and profound. Currents carry messages, petals catch light, roots reach for nourishment, and tiny gardeners move with delicate intention. You inhale, following the flow of abundance. Exhale, letting it settle in your body. The garden has bloomed. It is radiant, balanced, and alive. You are cradled in its harmony, weightless, serene, and utterly present. And now, as your awareness drifts with the pulse of the blooming garden, you feel a soft invitation toward rest. Currents slow, roots curl gently, petals sway in quiet satisfaction. Inhale, tracing the calm, abundant hum. Exhale, letting it settle. You float softly, ready to drift into the next chapter where the garden rests, where roots, currents, petals, and tiny gardeners pause, and the lullaby of life carries you deeper into calm and dreamlike serenity. You settle into the familiar warmth of your inner garden, following currents, roots, petals, and gentle gardeners with slow, deliberate breaths. Inhale, feeling the soft pulse of life ripple through soil, through streams, through roots and leaves, and through every cell of your awareness. Exhale, letting the warmth and calm settle across your chest, your limbs, your mind. The garden has bloomed. The petals have unfurled, the roots have stretched, the currents have carried nourishment to every corner. And now it is time to rest. The soil beneath you hums softly, pliant and reassuring. Roots curl gently in hidden pockets, twisting into shapes of comfort and calm. Microbes nestle quietly in their cozy spaces, their work paused or slowed, their tiny hands folded in satisfaction. You inhale, tracing their subtle stillness. Exhale, letting the hum of life settle deeper into your awareness. The garden breathes with you, a slow, steady rhythm that rocks you gently, like a cradle of warm earth and quiet light. Leaves sway softly in slow currents of imagined air, brushing one another lightly, catching hints of lingering warmth from sunlight and nutrients alike. Petals curl around seeds, roots sink into the pliant soil, and tiny gardeners pause, brushing their hands together, nodding in quiet acknowledgement of a day's work done. You might smile softly at their polite gestures, the tiny humor tucked into their pauses, their gentle satisfaction with the unfolding of life. Inhale, following the slow rhythm. Exhale, letting it settle into your chest. Currents of water, nutrients, and chemical whispers drift softly through soil and roots, carrying messages of balance, repair, and calm. You notice their path, tracing them with your breath. Inhale, following the gentle flow. Exhale, letting it ripple through your awareness. Life persists in stillness as surely as it moves in motion. Even in rest, every microbe, every seed, every root continues quietly, tenderly, attentively. The garden is alive, and so are you, weightless, calm, and attended to. Petals tilt slightly, catching residual warmth, while leaves rustle softly, brushing neighboring stems in delicate acknowledgement. Roots intertwine with a subtle grace, forming a tapestry of support and comfort beneath the surface. You inhale, tracing the curves and coils of roots, the gentle tilt of petals. Exhale, feeling your body and mind merge with the garden's steady pulse. The rhythm is slow, deliberate, entirely reassuring. You are held, cradled, understood. Some microbe currents drift with a playful ease, even in rest, nudging one another lightly, brushing petals gently, sharing quiet chemical laughter. You might giggle softly, imagining their polite amusement, their tiny bows of acknowledgement, the soft humor that makes the garden feel alive even in stillness. Inhale, following the quiet dance. Exhale, letting it settle across your awareness, deep in your chest, into your arms, your legs, your whole body. The air in the garden is warm and soft, carrying a subtle hum that vibrates through soil and root, through petals and leaves, through currents and tiny gardeners. You follow your breath, inhale, tracing the soft vibration, exhale, letting it settle. Every corner of the garden rests, nurtured by slow attention, patient care, and tender diligence. You feel the hum resonate through yourself, a gentle lullaby that echoes softly in your mind. Roots curl more tightly, tucking into soft soil. Leaves fold slightly, leaning into the warmth of slow currents. Petals brush gently against one another, whispering quiet encouragement. Tiny gardeners pause completely, resting lightly on roots, leaning against petals, folding hands over small bundles of soil. You imagine the subtle relief in their gestures, the soft satisfaction in the hush of completion. Inhale, tracing the calm motion. Exhale, letting your chest sink into the garden's steady heartbeat. The soil itself seems to sigh softly, a low vibration that carries reassurance and warmth. Currents settle, streams slow, chemical whispers fade into gentle hums. You notice the subtle balance of rest and persistence. Life continues even in pause, growth flows even in quiet, and attention persists without rush. Inhale, noticing the warmth and the gentle pulse. Exhale, letting it fill your awareness, filling your chest, your limbs, your whole body. You follow the gentle flow of currents to roots and seeds, brushing softly past petals. Microbes curl in cozy pockets, exchanging the last tiny chemical greetings of the day. Petals shimmer faintly in lingering warmth. Roots nestle into pliant soil. Inhale, tracing the subtle motion. Exhale, letting the quiet hum sink deep into your chest. You are weightless, cradled, and entirely present in this soft, tender moment. Some leaves tilt in gentle acknowledgement of the slowing currents. Some roots uncurl slightly, stretching softly before resting once again. Tiny gardeners adjust lightly, brushing soil from hands, leaning back with a soft sigh. You might imagine the humor of a microbe tipping its tiny hat to a root, a subtle bow of amusement at the day's work. Inhale, tracing the tender movements. Exhale, letting it ripple through your awareness, a gentle wave of calm and assurance. The garden hums low, steady, complete, yet entirely patient. Currents drift lazily, roots stretch and settle, petals sway in slow rhythm. Tiny gardeners fold hands, nod to one another, and rest. You feel yourself merging with this lullaby of life, inhaling calm, exhaling tension, letting the warm pulse of the garden settle into every part of your awareness. You are held, cradled, and safe. And now, as your breath slows further, you notice the final subtle expansion of the garden. Currents glide softly, petals curl into tiny bows, roots sink deep, and the tiny gardeners close their eyes, resting lightly on the soil. Inhale, tracing the gentle wave of warmth, of presence, of life persisting in calm. Exhale, letting it settle fully into your chest, into your limbs, into your awareness. You float alongside it, weightless, attentive, serene. The inner garden continues its quiet work, tending roots, streams, petals, and microbes, while you drift gently into rest. Currents hum softly, chemical whispers linger faintly, petals catch glimmers of warmth, roots stretch gently in the soft soil. Tiny gardeners smile softly in your imagination, settling into slow, deliberate attention, their small gestures of care and humor tucked into the hush of completion. Inhale, letting it fill your chest. Exhale, letting it settle fully. And as your awareness drifts on slow, steady breaths, you feel the lullaby of life within you, steady, nurturing, patient, following you beyond the garden, beyond the soil, beyond the streams, carrying you into dreamlike serenity. You are weightless, cradled, and entirely safe. Inhale, tracing the hum. Exhale, sinking completely. The garden rests. You rest. Life persists quietly, tenderly, endlessly.